I just got his hopes up, and now I have to let him down again.
What up, and welcome back to another episode of What Happened All About the Fosters. Lisa here, and if you can't tell, I was too lazy to move the camera back to the other side of my room, so that's why I'm filming somewhere else in a different part of my room today. Not like you actually cared, but whatever. Episode 17 of The Fosters is titled Diamond in the Rough, and the title refers to a new character that we meet in the episode. Now, personally, I didn't think this episode was super exciting or eventful, but that was, again, just my opinion. We've kind of had a bunch of those really explosive episodes lately, so it was kind of actually a little bit refreshing to have a little slower paced episode. But you can definitely tell that this is an episode that's setting up for a lot of explosive things to happen in the last 3 episodes of this season. Now, if there's anything I learned from this episode, and probably from the show in general, it's that I would never tell any of my secrets to anybody in the Foster's Adams crew, especially Mariana. Now, let's kick off this recap. On the Emma front, we actually don't see her in this episode, but she does text Brandon asking him to get back her letter because she doesn't want anyone else to read it or find it. So Brandon goes and finds the letter in his room where Jesus has been staying, and right as he turns around, the ever-present Mariana is there waiting to pounce. Now Mariana's like, what do you got in your hands there? And Brandon doesn't really hesitate in saying it's the letter that Emma wrote Jesus. Mariana definitely still seems bitter that Emma confided in Brandon over her, and she makes some snarky remarks, and then she says for Brandon's sake that she hopes Jesus doesn't find out that he's known all along when everything blows up. Damn, girl, you know you're gonna be in trouble too, because you know almost as much as Brandon does. Mariana's just, always trying to insert herself into everyone's business. And that leads to what she's doing to poor Jesus. Lena finally learns that Jesus can't read, so they take him to the doctor and he gets some glasses. Anyway, Mariana walks in on Jesus in his room. He's drawing again, and he sketched this really cool treehouse. Now, I definitely need to get that sketch. Get one of these made in real life if I had the yard and the money for it. Mariana then brings up these books that the two of them used to love as kids called The Magic Treehouse, and this seems to spark an idea in Mariana's little head. Mariana goes downstairs to show the moms what Jesus has drawn, but not before she opens her mouth to blab a secret about AJ and Callie, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Mariana then shows the treehouse sketch to the moms and tells them her proposition. She says maybe we can get Gabe to help Jesus build this treehouse as part of his senior project. Sometimes they let juniors get a head start on their projects. They can build it on a playground or in a park so that they can possibly get fundraising through the school and all of this stuff. And Lena and Steph actually think this is a pretty good idea because they think maybe it'll help motivate Jesus, get him out of his funk, and help him rebuild his skills. Lena is then the buzzkill, and she says, you know what, unfortunately you have to get school approval for this, so you have to go to Drew. Remember, he's the guy that's taken over Lena's job in office while she's on leave. Mariana and Jesus go to the school on a Saturday to meet with Drew to present their idea, and later on, Lena ends up telling Mariana that Drew loved the idea, but unfortunately he's not going to approve it because he thinks Jesus might not even be back at Anchor Beach next year. He might not even be a senior next year, and he might have to go to a special school. Now Mariana's devastated because now she's gotten Jesus' hopes up, and now she's going to have to crush them. So what is the solution? Tell another big fat lie, of course. That's gonna blow up in your face later. She tells Jesus that Drew approved the project, but it now has to be both of their senior projects since it's gonna be expensive. There's a little spark in Jesus' eyes when he hears this news, which just warms your heart and then just makes everything so much more devastating in a couple of seconds or minutes. This ultimately, though, leads to a very sweet moment when Mariana reads Jesus one of the Magic Treehouse books, and it's like they're little kids again, and all seems right until we see Mariana typing away on her little secret Twitter, basically exclaiming to whoever's gonna read it that she's lied straight to Jesus' face, and it's gonna break his heart when he finds out. She then tries to call Gabe in order to see if he'll help with the treehouse, but unfortunately, his line has been disconnected, so where's Gabe gone? Moving on to AJ and Mike. What's gonna happen with this whole adoption thing? Well, Mike asks AJ if he's actually thought about the adoption, and that's when AJ says, you know what, I know what you're trying to do, Mike. I know why you want to adopt me. It's so Anna and Isabella can move in. Mike then reassures him, no, this isn't the only reason I want to adopt you. I love you, your family. I've wanted to adopt you since before this. And then AJ says, I think I'm gonna move in with Ty when Ty gets out of jail. And Mike says, okay, if that's what you want to do. Flash forward toward the end of the episode, and Mike and AJ are watching TV together. Mike says he's thought about this whole thing, and he says, what if Anna and Isabella still moving in that apartment down the hall, and then when Ty gets out of jail, Ty and AJ can move into that apartment, and Anna and Isabella can move in with Mike, so that they're all still close together. AJ then says, hey, we can't afford this, like, how are we ever gonna pay for that? And Mike says basically the sweetest thing, and that he's gonna pay for the rent until AJ and Ty can get on their feet. It turns out he's been saving up all the money the state's been sending him to take care of AJ in order to actually give it to AJ when he turns 18 or moves out. Now, AJ is really excited by this news because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You're still super close to Mike and you get to live with your brother. Perfect, right? Let's just hope that Ty keeps to his word and actually cleans up his act and gets out on time. Now, AJ seems pretty happy, but unfortunately things aren't so happy for AJ later on in this episode. Now, to get to that, we have to go back a little bit. After some advice from Daphne, and Mariana Callie knows that she has to go and make up with AJ. She goes to the basketball court to try to make things right. When she gets out of her car, though, she sees him playing basketball with Dawn. Remember, that girl from the last episode we were introduced to. Callie is kind of watching these two play basketball together when she sees Dawn and AJ have a kiss. Uh-oh. Callie then drives off and gets home and confides in Mariana. And it's like, come on, Callie, haven't you learned anything from the past? Like, she's not really the first person you should go to tell things like this to. Callie's upset, but not the kind of upset most girls would be if they saw their man macking on another girl. Now, why is this? Well, Callie says she saw Dawn kiss AJ, not the other way around, but she also didn't see AJ pull away from the kiss. She then brings up, though, her kiss with Aaron and how Aaron kissed her, but she didn't pull away. But the thing is, the kiss didn't mean anything to Callie, so maybe that's the case with AJ. She then says maybe AJ's just feeling neglected and he's right with all the things that are going on. Things are so crazy, and Mariana basically says you should go see him and give him some reassurance. Yeah, we all know what that's code for. Callie then goes over to see AJ, who's in the shower, and so she strips down to try to have some sexy time with him. And, well, it just all goes horribly wrong. The two then start to have an awkward conversation, but it ends up being a nice heart-to-heart, and Callie actually doesn't bring up this whole kiss with Dawn, but she finally lets AJ talk about all the things that are going on with him right now, the feelings, and he talks about Mike and Ty and the adoption situation, and the two do end up getting their reassurance. That happiness, though, is pretty short-lived. When Mariana goes to show the moms Jesus's sketch, like I said before, she blabs to them about the AJ and Dawn kiss. It's like a game of telephone now, as Steph then brings it up to Mike, who then ends up bringing it up to AJ. The end of the episode is when your hearts are about to break, especially if you're an AJ Callie shipper. Do they even have a shipper name? No? The two of them are back on the basketball court and Callie's ready to kind of have some fun and goof off, and when AJ just seems to be like staring off in the distance, definitely preoccupied with something. He then asks Callie, did you see me and Dawn kiss? And she says yes, and he asks why she didn't say anything about it. So once again, Callie brings up the whole Aaron kiss and how he kissed her, but she didn't pull away, but she didn't have any feelings. So then she asks AJ, was your kiss with Dawn the same way? So AJ kind of hesitates, which is the first non-good sign. He then says he's sorry. Second bad sign. And then Callie's kind of like, well, did you have any feelings? He then eventually gets it out and says, yeah, I like Dawn. So why does he like her? Well, it seems things are easy with her. Things with Callie are just always so hard and difficult. And he says things shouldn't be that hard. So basically, it's R.I.P. AJ and Callie. Okay, so we don't actually hear them break up in the episode, but it's kind of alluded to, right? The way that whole scene leaves off. Now on to the namesake of this episode. Who is the diamond in the rough? Or Diamond? Well, Steph is now on her first day of being a detective in a trafficking unit, and they brought in a young girl named Diamond who she meets and ends up giving her phone number on a card to in case the girl needs help. Later on in the episode, Diamond ends up coming back in, and she is pretty bruised and beat up, and she's called Steph to come help her, and tells the story basically how one of her Johns, or her clients, because she's a prostitute, got real drunk off soda and cough syrup and ended up beating her, and things got really out of hand. Diamond then says, she's reached her breaking point, she doesn't want to do this anymore, and she needs help. And she's like, they're gonna send me to juvie, but I can't go to juvie because my pimp has people there that'll hurt me, so I need somewhere to go. All the while, Steph is trying to convince Diamond to help them catch her pimp Russell and turn him in. Steph pulls some strings and gets Diamond into Girls United, you know, where Callie used to stay, where Callie is still kind of helping out, as well as her friend Daphne, who now works for Girls United. Proof that you can turn anything around. So Callie and the girls from GU have still been busy trying to get all these signatures on their foster care reform petition, so they've been outside of these grocery stores. And now Diamond is there to help out because she's staying at GU, and that's what they have to do for like an hour after school every day. Now something seems a little off when Diamond shows up for work, and she ends up meeting Callie finally, and she sees that Callie kind of puts a phone in her backpack. I don't know why I said kind of. Callie puts a phone in her backpack. And Diamond ends up stealing that phone and asks to go to the bathroom. And when she's in the bathroom, she calls her pimp saying she wants to come home and she's sorry. And then that she's calling from the cop's daughter's phone. And it's kind of like, why would you ever say that to someone as dangerous as your pimp? Well, in all her blabbing and asking for forgiveness, Diamond ends up telling Russell, her pimp, that she is at a group home. She then says she wants to come home, obviously. And Russell goes, if you want to come home and be in my good graces again, you have to bring one of those girls with you. This does not look good for the ladies of Girls United. So when Diamond comes back out of the bathroom and goes back outside, Steph is there to pick up Callie, and Steph says to Diamond, you know, hey, are you ready to help take down Russell? And Diamond kind of plays along and lies and says yes, and then Steph says, you know, I'll see you at the station the next day. Let's get this started. We then see Diamond go up to one of the other Girls United girls who earlier in the episode was told to shut up by one of the other girls because she was singing. Well, she once again is singing to herself, and Diamond comes up and says, you know, your voice is really awesome. And the girl's like, oh, tell me something I don't know. That was my horrible impression. Diamond then says, hey, you know what? I actually know a record producer or music producer, my boyfriend. Yeah, sure. She's like, I bet he can help you get a record deal. And then we leave that storyline, which obviously means Diamond is going to recruit this girl and is going to try to take her with her to the pimp, and it just all seems like it's leading to something pretty big. Alright, so that seems like about it for this episode, right? Oh wait, no. Oh, how could I forget this? We gotta talk about Monty finally getting maybe what she deserves. Okay, I'm sorry if that comes off a little harsh, but I really never liked Monty, and she's caused a lot of trouble for these people throughout the course of the show. So Lena is currently worried about her job, and she's informed by her coworker Kim that there's a board meeting about the school's accreditation coming up. But Lena never got the email because her replacement Drew left her off the email, and she thinks it's on purpose. She has logical reason to think that Drew is gunning for her position. Steph reassures Lena that legally the school can't fire you while you're on leave, but Lena doesn't really believe it. She also thinks that Drew and Monty might be something a little more, especially with Monty's past and the way that Drew has been kissing Monty's ass lately. And Lena's also afraid that maybe they won't renew her contract next year. Lena ends up showing up to the board meeting, and she tells Monty that she doesn't appreciate being left off important emails. And Monty says no one purposely left you off, but then Lena retorts saying, it doesn't feel like a mistake. The board meeting then starts, and one of the main board members, Lauren, says that there was a complaint made about a gay sex ed class that was held off campus. Lena then steps up to take responsibility for it, and she says, you know, this wasn't affiliated with the school, it was held off campus, I did this as a parent, not as a vice principal. Lauren then says, you know, why were there permission slips required for this thing if it was off campus? And Monty says that she insisted there be permission slips to avoid any complaints or backlash. Well, looks like that backfired, huh? Lena then tries to step up still and take full responsibility for any problems that this has caused, and then that's when Lauren says this is not your fault. Requiring a permission slip for anything kind of implicates the school and holds it responsible, and that because Monty required permission slips to be signed for this class, this is all Monty's fault. Drew then tries to open his big old mouth to alleviate the situation, but the board quickly shuts that down and says, you know what, if this wasn't an accreditation year and we weren't worried about things, we would take some risks, but we can't take any risks. So what do they decide? They want Monty to resign. I have a feeling this is all gonna get pretty ugly, right? Later, Lena's coworker comes to the house. She then drops a bomb saying it wasn't a parent who told Lauren and the board about the sex ed class. Actually, heck, there wasn't even a complaint. So, who was the rat? That sneaky little devil Drew. he actually called up Lauren and told her about the sex ed class and the permission slips, and well, now he's the interim principal, so I guess things worked out for him, but it's like, where have all the nice, good people gone? Can we just make Lena principal already? Okay, now that really wraps up this episode. So we basically learned Mariana's web of lies is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and when it crashes, a lot of people are gonna get burned, including poor Jesus, who we just want to get better. Callie and AJ, they seem over as of right now, but AJ is pretty happy that he might be living with Ty, so let's hope Ty doesn't screw things up. Drew is a big snake, and like I said, I hope Lena ends up being the principal, and this whole situation with Diamond is definitely likely to build up and give Steph a not so easy day at the office. Now, what's in store for next week? Well, the promo is super short, but we're getting a lot of Aaron, it seems like. The promo shows Callie at dinner at Aaron's house, and it looks like his parents, or at least his dad, haven't accepted his transition yet, and things are probably gonna get messy, so let's roll that promo.
Underneath all of this is my daughter.
He is your son. Only 2 episodes left until the season finale.
I can defend myself.
But you didn't.
Callie, stop.
Okay, so we only have like, what, 3 episodes left? I think there's 20 in this season, so 3, 18, 19, 20. And there's still a lot of loose ends that we need to tie up, especially when it comes to Callie's trial and Mrs. Johnson's murder. Like, I need to know, will Troy be brought to justice, and did he actually kill his grandma? Also, how was this whole Diamond situation gonna blow up? Because they wouldn't introduce that if nothing big was gonna happen. Please don't let someone get shot or get hurt at the end of the season. You've done that before to us, Fosters. Alrighty, now you all know what time it is. It's time to leave your comments or thoughts about this episode below or on my social media. What do you think's gonna happen next? Are you happy or sad about Allie and... I was about to say Allie and AJ. AJ and Callie. Then before you go, click over here to watch my Power Rangers review or any other cool videos that are on my channel. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything else fun like this. And if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. As always, thanks for hanging with me, guys, and I'll see you next week so we can talk all about what's going on the Fosters.